Good evening and welcome to Uctv News. I'm Sunday Gloria Aboch. Kampala Archdiocese has commenced celebrations to mark 60 years since the canonization of the Uganda Martyrs on the 18th of October 1964 in Vatican, Rome by the Pope. A sacred relic tour to the various deaneries is being carried in an effort to renew commitment and faith of Catholic communities in Kampala Archdiocese and its vicariates. Uctv spoke to Father Nyombi Richard about the activities and intentions of the sacred relic tours across various deaneries that make up Kampala Archdiocese.
I am Father Nyombi Richard of the Society of the Missionaries of Africa. I am stationed at Mapera Nabulagara Catholic Parish. Our patron saint is St. John the Baptist. And I thank the Lord who is giving us this chance to say a word about the 60th anniversary of the canonization of the Uganda Martyrs. So as you know, our Uganda Martyrs were canonized in 1964. So this year, 2024, we are celebrating the 60th anniversary on the 18th of October, because they were canonized in Rome on the 18th of October, 1964. And this celebration is, we can look at it at three levels. There is the level of the Catholic Church in Uganda. So preparations are going on how to celebrate this anniversary. And it is going to be combined with the celebration of the 3rd of June. And the diocese which is leading us this year is that of Nebi. So Nebi, which was asked to help us to prepare ourselves for this celebration of the Diamond Jubilee of the canonization of the Uganda Martyrs, and also the 3rd of June, they decided to have the two celebrations together. So those who will be at Namugongo on that day, and also we shall be, of course, participating either there physically or far, through the radio and the televisions. So the reflection will be at the two levels, the canonization, 60 years, and then the death of the Uganda Martyrs, which is always celebrated on that date. Now, at the level of the Archdiocese of Kampala, we are also having some preparation to remember that event and also to celebrate it. So the Archbishop decided to have a committee, a steering committee, which will help us to celebrate that event. And one of the activities which he decided to have during this year is to have the relics of the Uganda Martyrs going around the Archdiocese in all the 75, 76 parishes. So these relics will be going. We talk about the visit of the Uganda Martyrs. They are visiting us in our parishes through the relics of the Uganda Martyrs, and specifically the relics of Kalori Lwanga, Charles Lwanga, and Matia Mulumba. So this exercise, this spiritual exercise, the aim of this visitation of the relics is to remind us of the lives of the Uganda Martyrs, and most especially to learn more about their lives, so as to take them as our models of Christian commitment. And surely through their intercession to pray for the different needs, whether it is individual or community, family. So this visitation of the Uganda Martyrs through the relics started already at the beginning of this month of February. And we are moving through the four vicariates which make up the Catholic, the diocese, the Archdiocese of Kampala. So we started with the Mitala Maria Vicariate. Then from Mitala Maria Vicariate, we shall move to Wakiso Vicariate. and from Wakiso Vicariate we shall move to Entebbe Vicariate, and then end with Kampala Vicariate. So what happens when we move with our ancestors in faith, the Uganda martyrs, through these relics is surely to, first of all, to know who these martyrs were and what we can do to continue the legacy of the Uganda martyrs by living our faith. So usually there is a teaching instruction about the Uganda martyrs, who they are, and the virtues, especially the virtues we learn from them, and how through this year we can renew ourselves in our faith, and also as baptized, how we can also follow in their footsteps. So there is that instruction about the Uganda martyrs. Often we have a Eucharistic celebration, and then afterwards we have a celebration of venerating the Uganda martyrs. Venerating, not worshipping the Uganda martyrs, but we are venerating. People come before the relics, they can touch, they can put their rosary or medal, and then they can make their prayer and then go. So that's a very key event, and we hope that in this exercise of receiving the Uganda martyrs through these relics, it will help us to know more about these Uganda martyrs, but also and most so to imitate their way of Christian living. So we are now almost finishing with the Mitara Maria Vicariate. One of the denaries, and then it's going to go in MPG. Now, when we are meditating about these relics, that is the bones of the Uganda martyrs, they are not dry bones. They are precious bones, which the church invites us to venerate since their beatification in 1920. And behind these bones, first of all, we see all those virtues that the Uganda martyrs stood for and died for. But then also, behind these bones, we see those who killed them, the vices which pushed those to kill them. And in that also, we pray that those vices, we can fight against them within us, but also others, by being true witnesses of Christ. So that is the exercise of the veneration of the relics, the visitation of the Uganda martyrs in their relics in the Archdiocese of Kampala, in the 75 and other church institutions during this year. So the preparation started on the 15th of November last year, and it will lead us to the 15th of November this year in the Archdiocese of Kampala.
Opposition members of parliament led by Joel Senyonyi have launched the opposition priority areas during the swearing-in ceremony for the new shadow cabinet, which was held at Imperial Royal Hotel Kampala today. Joel Senyonyi, leader of opposition in parliament, warned persons seeking to derail and frustrate their activities in the course of executing their duties, as Joseph Kabale reports.
2 years to the end of the 2021 or 2026 political leadership term, the opposition members of parliament have launched the document containing the opposition priority areas, which will guide their activities of mutual interest in the course of executing their mandate, as established by law. After presiding over the swearing-in ceremony of the shadow cabinet ministers, Senyonyi vowed to deal with anyone who intends to distract them in the course of carrying out their official duties.
We are putting everyone on notice. Everyone that thinks they will frustrate our work, you have been put on notice. We are coming. Tujja. Because that's our duty. That's our mandate. Next week we are going to Lubowa Hospital. We want to see what's there. Billions of shillings have been pumped into that place. And we don't know what's going on there. This is a hospital that should have been completed around 2019, but here we are. Every year, lots of monies are pumped there. It's our mandate to go and establish what is the taxpayers' money doing here that is pumped there every year. So we are coming. I'm told it's guarded by SFC and I don't know what. I don't care. It is our mandate given to us by the people of Uganda and by God to keep the government in check, to follow the money wherever it is. So we are coming to Lubowa Hospital.
Senyonyi went ahead and appealed to all Ugandans to render their support and due assistance in the pursuit of the country's betterment.
So we want to encourage Ugandans, please don't just, cheer us on. Because we are few in number, we shall do everything we have got to do, and that's a pledge and to make on behalf of my colleagues in Parliament. We'll do everything we can. But again, we are asking Ugandans out there, please join this fight. Parliament alone will not do it. It's a very structured place. Too structured. You've got 2-3 minutes to speak. How much do you say in those 2-3 minutes? Because we are too many. And again, to say what you have got to say, you've got to catch the eye of the speaker. How many are we for that to happen? So it's a very controlled, formal place.
In the same vein, he sounded a warning to their colleagues in the ruling party, the National Resistance Movement, to be courteous of their decisions, because one day they shall be victims of today's negligent policies.
And so our colleagues in the NRM, don't wait for that day to come. It will come. So you might think it is okay. It is opposition supporters whose rights are being violated, who are being abducted, who are being locked up in jail for donkey's years simply because they don't support this regime, and you say it is okay. The day of reckoning will come. So let's fight for good governance, for respect for the rule of law. All of us get to benefit. And I've heard the DPP the other day was saying that this 48-hour rule needs to be revisited. DPP, why do you arrest people before you carry out investigations? That's what you should be concerned about. Tell police that, look, before you arrest anybody, make sure you have sufficient evidence, cogent evidence.
On the same note, the leader of opposition, Joel Senyonyi, has reminded the opposition members of parliament to focus and push for the political prisoners' freedom, as he explains.
Honorable colleagues, these and other Ugandans deserve better. Let's unequivocally amplify their plight. Disregard for the rule of law and human rights violations have become commonplace under this regime. From missing persons like John Bosco Chibalama and several others like him, to those unfairly detained for lengthy durations, like Olivia Lutaya and others like her, to torture victims, all of whose only crime, colleagues, is that they don't support the current establishment. As representatives of the people, we should and we shall be their voice on these matters. They're counting on us, honorable colleagues. They're counting on you and me to be their voice.
Joseph Kabale, UCTV News.
The Executive Director, Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group CSBAG, a coalition that brings together civil society organizations and individuals in Uganda, Julius Mukunda, in a presentation to the opposition members of parliament, highlighted the need for priority-based budgeting for Uganda to reduce its public debt that stands at 96.1 trillion shillings, and it's about to cross the 100 trillion shillings mark. Julius noted that delay in project implementation of the borrowed money with lack of counterpart funding from the government as one of the factors contributing to Uganda's debt crisis.
It would be okay, but that number should not be increasing. 5 years ago, that number was 5 trillion. Now we are projecting it at 9 trillion. So your ability to pay back your debt is actually being questioned because it is increasing. The third element there I want to interest you in, of course, are the interest rate, which have increased also from 6 to 7 trillion. And lastly is the available money for government of Uganda to spend on us, which means that the government of Uganda last year, if it removes the debt, the rated debts, last year it had 21 trillion. No, it had 25 trillion. This coming financial year, it is going to have only 21 trillion to spend on us. We call it discretionary spending. So before anything happens, even before you members of parliament decide on appropriating the budget, you, out of the 52 trillion they tell us, you can only make reallocations within 21 trillion. That is what is happening. And if this trend continues, you will end up not appropriating any resources because all the money will be going to service the debt. So as we are preparing this, then one of the things that we ask ourselves, we said, where should government of Uganda spend money? And I think this is somewhere we would like to interest you in. The first one is public infrastructure investment in renewable and water and sanitation, not roads. The studies we have found is that they say that investment in green jobs have a higher impact because they create more jobs. In fact, $1 million invested can create around 5 to 10 jobs, could be created in green electricity. 12 to 12 jobs in efficiency, new buildings like schools and hospitals, and 5 to 14 jobs in green water and sanitation. So we have found out that if we invest in green energy, we can actually have more jobs. The second one that we have come across is on early childhood education. And this is quite interesting. Remember, we don't have nursery education in this country. It's never there. This is quite very interesting. The World Bank has said that children who attended pre-primary were 74% less likely to repeat a grade compared to those who did not. A report highlighted that government was wasting approximately $177 million annually on grade repetitions, children who repeat classes. And we can save around 200 million by reducing the needed repetition if we invest $20 million US. Caught fire. But I think there are some certain fundamental areas we have forgotten to talk about debt. The stock actually for me doesn't worry me, that we have a debt of 96 trillion. It doesn't. It doesn't worry me. For me, what worries me is how we have deployed the 96.7 trillion Ugandan shillings that we have got, and how we are utilizing it, and whether we are actually getting returns out of that, amount we are talking about. So forget about that. We have hit the threshold of 53% debt to GDP. That's not a problem. The problem is even if you're in the hundreds, how are you deploying that shilling that you have borrowed? Because if you deploy it properly, you are likely to get returns and pay back. Remember what I told you, discretionary spending is reducing from 25 to 21. At this rate, in the next 5 years, you will not have a budget to appropriate. It will have already been appropriated a long time ago. So what are the key issues I would like to raise you about debt? And that's on the next slide. First is delayed implementation of borrowed money. 53 activities amounting to 74 billion in 22 entities were behind schedule. These are not my numbers. I take the OAG report very seriously and religiously. 14 activities totaling 22 billion were completed but were not functional. These are the theaters we build in the health centers, and at the end you find that they don't have water and it can't function. It's not functioning. The undisbursed funds for 28 sample project was 777 billion and 691 million United States dollars. These are monies we have borrowed, but we can't access it because we were not ready when we signed the contract. So the money remains undisbursed, and you keep on paying interest rate and commitment fees. That is the problem with our debt. It's not about the stock. Forget it. The problem is there, that out of the 96 trillion we are talking about of stock debt, some of it we have not even received it. It is still there, but it is still being counted. 27 project cumulative referred to absorb project funding amount to 118 billion. And these are things that really should concern every policymaker. You start a project, you don't know where you start a road, but you don't know where it's going to lead. That's what it means. Because after 1 kilometer, you heard of the famous tree. Had the famous tree. They built the road, found a tree in the middle, and for them they thought that you can calculate the value of the tree by the number of timber that is likely to come out of that particular tree. But the tree had a spiritual value, which they had not put into consideration. It took almost 8 months to resolve that, and you are paying money on that particular delay. Ministry of Health has got expired drugs of COVID worth 300 billion, and remember, we borrowed that money. We borrowed money, got the drugs, and they got expired, and we're going to pay back that particular money. UNRWA Road project has a total of undisbursed loan funds in 2023 of 458 billion Ugandan shillings. So these are the problems of debt, not the stock. So if we can address this, and I was saying that if you are an accounting officer among these things, please step aside and we get somebody else to do that particular work. The other area is domestic arrears. If we continue paying the 217 billion at this rate, and the domestic arrears are increasing now to almost 10 trillion, it will take the government of Uganda 35 years to finish paying these arrears, on condition that the arrears don't increase. So if you are the one supplying government, be very careful, because it might take you 35 years to be paid back the money. The other issue is we are also not very good at collecting our revenue, and this for me is the one that concerns me most. That you have taxpayers with the ability to say, I don't want to pay. I wish I had that power or that courage to tell URA, do you know what? These taxes you have imposed on me, I'm unable to pay and I will not pay. So the gold exporters, when they were left the tax, they decided not to pay and refused, and nobody touched them. And I have not had anybody going to prison because they refused to pay. And we lost around 14 million Ugandan shillings, or around 52 billion Ugandan shillings of taxes that were not collected, because these people are very powerful. They just said, we can't pay because you've overtaxed us. Who does that in this country? I don't think any members of parliament can do it. So our ability to do that, I think, is very, very important, to be able to collect all what we can, and to ensure that each and every person pays their fair share of taxes. As I come to the end, I think the other important issue that we need to address is the question of low absorption capacity of the approved warrants. Out of the total warrants for last financial year, 49 trillion issued during the financial year, 53 trillion was spent. Now, I want to put something on this. These were the warrants of 49. But remember, this financial year, you actually also gave a supplementary budget of around 5 trillion.
Still from the local scene, legislators and political actors have weighed in on the effectiveness and the possibility, given other measures have still not yielded in ending the vice. This follows the recent pronouncement by the Minister for Defense, General Jim Muhwezi, that the government is planning to introduce body cameras to be worn by civil servants as a move to end corruption in government institutions.
The whole thing is embedded in governance, where people think that if you believe in the president, the current president Museveni, then you are untouchable. Did you people not see when they say the IGG should not even follow the generals, that was no-go area? People who work in the State House are also not to be followed.
There is a calculated way of stealing money. They may only sign on the documents. They may only use other people to do corruption. For example, at the time of giving contracts to contractors, he may use somebody that will never catch that person in stealing the money. Therefore, the idea of installing cameras on the technocrats, that is wasted of taxpayers' money.
Does it mean that actually the body camera is going to be operating with the civil servant from bedroom up to workplace? The issue is no. That means that actually these body cameras are going to be put on either when they are at work. But corruption is not done actually in their offices. Even right now when they don't have actually the body cameras. The deals and the corrupt issues which they engage into, it is not in the offices.
Officers will be frightened, they will fear to ask for money from people because they know they will be recorded, they will be on record. And even our people out there will fear to engage in giving out money or trying to bribe officers because they know they are being recorded, which would again become another offense, trying to bribe an officer. So
I think that actually that one is actually applicable on police officers who actually work with their uniforms and also who have a specific time when they are working. When they're in the uniform, that means that they're on duty.
And some individuals, do you think you can question the spending of people like the Salim Saleh? Can you question their spending? So it is until when we begin to honor and take our constitution seriously that then our people are empowered to ask for accountability of leaders. Leaders be accountable to the people who collect taxes. That then we can check on corruption. I don't say we can completely do away with it, but at least we are going to reduce corruption if we give this country back to the owners.
They can now say that now we want a border camera at the moment. When they have a State House anti-corruption unit in place, they have the IGG in place, then that means that those bodies were just put there to give people jobs and so on. What is more expected from the Ministry of Defense is to administer something which we think that actually it will give an impact, it will create an impact as far as corruption is concerned.
That is a total joke. You know, if you want to follow corrupt officials, you don't come up with such kind of activities. And more so, these technocrats, not that they carry money in the bag and they run away with it. You will never find any technocrat carrying hard cash. I am the chairperson PAC local government. You will never find the accounting officer, any of the accounting officer carrying hard cash, running away with it.
Recently, we had a project of computerized number plates. That was a very big project. And you don't know why actually they were fighting actually to have that computerized number plate. But when you try to look at the impact of it, you don't find it. So at the moment, the Ministry of Defense is finding a way of how now to get money from government.
when you look at, for example, the cameras that were installed on the roads, many of them are not working. Many of them are still new cameras a few years down the road and they are not working. So this is a wastage of taxpayers' money, which I believe we need to take in interest into, because we've seen cases where we've tried to have reviews of the cameras, or there has been an incident and police comes out and says the camera was unable to.
And finally, in our stories tonight, the Financial Intelligence Authority has announced that Uganda has been removed from the Financial Action Task Force grey list in a press statement released today by Samuel Were Wandera, the Executive Director, Financial Intelligence Authority, Uganda. The development marks a significant milestone in the country's dedication to enhancing financial transparency and combating money laundering and terrorism financing. The global anti-money laundering combating of the financing of terrorism grey list comprises countries with enforcement weaknesses and are subject to intense monitoring to upgrade their compliance ratings. The prolonged compliance failure might lead to the blacklisting of a defaulting country in the international financial system, a step that is bound to disrupt the usage of electronic financial transfers, letters of credit, and movement of overseas financial remittances between the affected country and foreign commercial banks. Uganda had been demoted to the Financial Action Task Force grey list in early 2020 following persistent failure to mitigate various loopholes in its anti-money laundering combating of the financing of terrorism enforcement regime. You are watching UCTV News. Let's take a look at today in history. Thank you for watching the Uganda Catholic Television. UCTV News takes a break.
UCTV, good news for all.
Catch incredible stories of resilience, success.
You can manage that money.
With a topping of inspiration.
Get interested in people, not interested in yourself.
Inspire, achieve, repeat.
You are watching UCTV, good news for all. For this and more, tune in to Kasese Get Radio 100.5 in Western Region, located at the hill of the Diocese of Kasese. KGR brings you all Catholic programs and an advertising platform in all our radio shows like Good Morning Renzori, Chama Toboka, Ukute, the business show, Propeller, the request show and sports, Evaluation, Bahinga Bakuluka, Late Night Show, and many others. Our other services include Isuzu Tipa, a no car, public address system, live band, Omokekera, an audio recording studio, and outside live broadcast. For more information, call 0773 597 166 or visit our website www.kasesegatradio.com. Kasese Get Radio, Omusondoria, the voice of truth.
It's unbelievable. Now, companies, businesses, and organizations can make bulk payments easily with Centenary Bank's corporate center SWIFT to anyone without the need of a bank account, anywhere, anytime, just like that. The recipient needs only their funds, national ID, and token number received via SMS to withdraw money from any center agent nearby. The Centenary Bank's corporate center SWIFT is simple, secure, and convenient. You think it's too good to be true? Visit any of our branches countrywide or visit www.centenarybank.co.ug to know more. Centenary Bank. Centenary Bank is a member center group regulated by the Bank of Uganda. Customer deposits of up to 10 million shillings are protected by the Deposit Protection Fund of Uganda. Terms and conditions apply.
UCTV, good news for all.
And with a segment of the Rome Reports, our bulletin closes tonight. UCTV News will be back again here on Monday evening. From the news team and I, good evening and good night.